Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name's Deshaun, and today I'm here to give you my review of Captain Marvel, the movie leading up to Avengers Endgame, the movie that will fill in the gap of where Captain Marvel has been this whole entire time, the movie that will answer all of your questions about her. And this movie is a complicated movie for me to review, but I'm gonna get this out of the way right up top. I'm giving the movie a 7.5. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a good, solid superhero movie. It's a good entry into the MCU. It's shoulder to shoulder with movies like the original. Shoulder to shoulder with movies like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Doctor Strange. Well, for me, Doctor Strange, the first Captain America, and Thor. It's in that department. It's not in the Winter Soldiers or the Guardians of the Galaxy. I wouldn't put it in the Iron Man 1 department or Civil War or any of the Avengers movies outside of a couple of them. It's better than Iron Man 2, it's better than Iron Man 3, it's better than Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and it's all in a shoulder to shoulder with and it's better than Thor: The Dark World, and it's better than Avengers Age of Ultron. So it's in this sweet spot. I'd say it's a 7.5 to an 8. At times, it is an 8. It's a solid 8. It's a solid, very good superhero movie that's like a solid entry. And at times, it's a 7.5 where it kind of lags. But I'll get into that details for now. But for now, I say go out and see Captain Marvel. It's a solid entry into the MCU. It fills in a lot of blanks. It answers a lot of questions. It gives you a new superhero character, which I will get into, but it has a pretty good cast. It has an interesting twist that I will sort of kind of allude to in a few minutes. But I give Captain Marvel a 7.5 to an 8. It's not a perfect movie. It has its problems, but overall, at the end of the day, I had fun watching it. I had a good time. It had some great fun bits. Her going Super Saiyan was cool. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, to the movie itself. I'm going to start off with the negatives. And then, like I said, I am going to be fair. I am a fair fan. I'm not blinders. I can see the flaws. Let me start off with the negatives. The positives outweigh the negatives, but it's not by as much as I would have liked it to. Now, let me start off with the negatives. There's a lot of twist. It's a very twisty movie that is pretty predictable if you know the comic book material. There are things that are twists that you won't think are twists if you don't know the comic book material. But if you do know anything about the comic book material, you're going to see the twist coming a mile away. There's only one twist that I would say was unexpected. Oh, sorry. Got a little close to the mic there. That was unexpected, and I did not see it coming. Other than that, the rest of it, you see it coming a mile away. You see it coming. You know when it's going to happen. And they execute the twist well, but it still doesn't, they execute the twist well. The actors are performing the twist well, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that you really see it coming. So that's one of the negatives. Another negative is the movie has a slower start. Now it builds up. Now it picks up pretty fast. So it picks up. The first 20 minutes of the movie are pretty slow. It picks up after the first 20 minutes, so you kind of forget about it, but it's hard to, but it's something I need to point out. It's the first 20 minutes of the movie are kind of slow. It's kind of world building, Hala, the home world of the Kree. And for me, that didn't bother me because as an MCU fan, I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and other MCU things. So and the Kree have been in that kind of stuff. And they've never shown you the Kree home world. So it was kind of cool getting to see the Kree home world. This movie, I have to say, does a lot of setting up. And that's another problem with the movie, I will say, is this movie is as if is unnecessary. They kind of treat this movie like a necessary evil to get to the good stuff. Like they kind of treat this movie like, okay, we have to do this to set all this stuff up so that we can do the really cool shit in the sequel. And that's what it feels like to me. It feels kind of Captain America, the First Avenger-esque to the Winter Soldier, where there's part where they have to do a whole bunch of laying out so that they can build, so that they could use all that shit and make an even better movie in the sequel, which is what I would say they're trying to do. Another slight negative, which isn't really a negative, it's like one of those catch-22s, is Brie Larson's performance is less Robert Downey Jr. It's less Robert Downey Jr. and more Chris Hemsworth. You know how Chris Hemsworth kind of started off and you liked him in Thor, but you were just he's not as cool he's not as cool. He's not as heart pounding. He's not. He didn't have as much heart as Chris Evans as Captain America, and he didn't have as much personality as Robert Downey Jr. Now, Brie Larson did a good job. I think she did good. She didn't do a great job. Wasn't like a star-making performance. Honestly, I'd put her on par with Benedict Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange, where they did a good job. They played the character well. But they didn't play it so well, not so much to it that you came out of this movie going, this is a star being born. You kind of came out of this movie going, okay, this is a solid foundation for her to build. Now, the sequel will start. Now, I need to see more of her to know how I eventually will feel about her. But overall, it wasn't a spark introduction like Tom Holland or Chadwick Boseman in Civil War, where you just saw them and you were just like, these guys are great. It was a solid performance by an Oscar-winning actress, and it's like it's pushing towards other things. I can't wait to see what they do with it. Minor little negatives as well. Like other than so here's the negatives. You see the twist coming from miles away. Brie Larson is still growing into the performance, so she's not a show stealer like you would hope she would be. She's just very good in her lead role. Sometimes, what was I gonna say? Sometimes, other than the twist, it has a slow start. And there is a feeling while I was personally watching the movie of, look, we have to do this to set up everything we're going to do later so that we don't have to explain it. We can just do it. And it's kind of, I will say, I gave it a 7.5. I think it's a 7.5 to an 8 because the actual movie itself was a good movie. It had a good story. No matter how predictable some of the twists were, it was a story that you hadn't really seen in the MCU. So I have to give it credence for doing that because they didn't have to do it that way. And it was a different kind of way of telling the story. There is one twist that I did not see coming that when it happened, I was like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. So overall, and the action sequences near the end were pretty cool, even though some of the camera angles at the beginning, it's really funny because the beginning of this movie is kind of not rough, but it's just, it feels like they're trying to find their footing. And like someone else I was talking to in the chat already said, he's like, some of these indie directors have never worked with a budget and I know what to do with this kind of a project. They've never been on a project like this. It's funny because all these years Marvel have been just picking up these smaller indie directors to do things, and you always just assume and they've been doing it to such success that you kind of always just assume that they would always do it to success. And perhaps maybe these two indie directors that they got to direct this, maybe they weren't ready for a movie like this because it did feel like the movie was held back by people who didn't because if there was any flaws in the movie, it was these writers who could not come up with clever ways to do certain things, which I know Marvel can do. I've seen them do it before. So, it's a catch-22 with this movie. But overall, I'm going to get into the positives now. But now that I got the negatives, you got the negatives right up top. I'm going to get into the positives. Brie Larson was good. Her best friend, Maria Marambeau, she was phenomenal. She actually did a better job than Brie. She was she had a lot of heart. She had a lot of spunk. I like her. The cat, Goose, I'm not going to talk about him. It's a big spoiler, but he's great. The daughter is great. Nick Fury and Talos the Skrull steal the show for me, though, in this movie. Samuel Jackson is great in everything that he's in, and he's great in this as well, as a more lighter, more human Nick Fury. It's kind of fun seeing Nick Fury like this, because that a decade later, like a few decades from now, he's going to be more hard, he's going to be more hardened, he's going to be more, fucking play. So you see him now where he's a cop, he's just really getting into S.H.I.E.L.D., he's young, he's a little younger, he's more smiles, he's more relaxed Nick Fury. And Coulson was good in the time that you saw him, but Talos, man, the Skrull, steals the goddamn thing. He is great. He has some of the best bits of this movie. And another thing that is phenomenal, and this is the greatest CGI effect of the entire movie, is the Skrull's transformation. It is so seamless. There's a sequence where Talos is changing it into someone as he's talking, and it's shifting, and it's just like, it is so seamless, the Skrull transformation. It's pretty awesome. Like, the way that it's done, and the way that the skin moves, and the way that it mimics, like, clothing and stuff. It's pretty goddamn cool, I must say. It is really cool. And they don't play the Skrulls up like you expect them to. When Captain Marvel goes supernova, when she goes completely OP powerful Dragon Ball Z mode, she's great. She's awesome. when she's awesome. She's awesome. Also there are some cool fight sequences. The fight sequence at the end is great. Let me think. The fight sequence at the end is great. Obviously, people have already talked about it. The special effects on Clark Gregg and Samuel L. Jackson to make them look younger is fucking seamless. You don't even notice it. There's a lot of great 90s references. There's tons of 90s references. Just a litany of them. And but in the end, I give Captain Marvel a 7.5 to an 8. I'm leaning towards the 7.5, but at times it's a solid 8. It never goes beyond its limits. And the thing is, I am a little disappointed in the movie. Even though I end up enjoying the movie, I kind of had that same feeling I had with Age of Ultron. When I was like, I had fun with this movie, but it could have been better. This could have been better. It should have been better. This movie should have been better. It had the potential to be better. Brie Larson was chomping at the bit to be better. And it just felt like this movie was made at a bad time. Like, if this movie had been made after Endgame, or if this movie had been made a few years ago, it probably would have been a better movie, because it feels like this movie had the pressure of knowing that it had to be the filler in between the Avengers movies. It like, that's what it felt like. It felt like it had the pressure of knowing that, and you could just feel it. And it's like, and it felt almost as if Marvel said, look, we're gonna put this down for now. Look, we're gonna put this down for now. We're gonna fill in some blanks. We're gonna get Endgame out of the way. And then we're going to do our sequel for this. And the sequel can do more because we don't have that pressure. We don't have anything looming over our heads anymore. We can just do the sequel. And that's what it kind of felt like they were doing with this, is that it was literally to fill in the blanks. It was literally doing it. Like, the movie did a lot of lifting. Like, that's one thing I said about Iron Man 2, which is why I don't give it too much crap as much as other people, because the movie did a lot of heavy lifting for the Avengers. I don't know if the Avengers work as well if Iron Man 2 doesn't shove so much of the shit in your face so that when the Avengers come around, you're like, okay. And this movie does a little bit. It doesn't do it as bad as Iron Man 2, obviously, because I gave Iron Man 2 like a 6.6 or a 6.5. And I gave this movie a 7 or 8, so it doesn't do it as bad, but you can tell that it's doing a lot of table setting. It's doing a lot of table setting for Captain Marvel 2, and it's doing a lot of table setting for Avengers Endgame. Sometimes at the detriment of its own movie, but overall, I had a good time. It wasn't as great as I was hoping it was going to be, but it was a solid entry into the MCU, a solid 7.5 to an 8. That is my opinion on Captain Marvel. Please comment below. What did you think of Captain Marvel? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you with me where you're like, I think it was a solid entry, a solid good entry, along with like Ant-Man and the Wasp? You're like, this is a solid good entry. It's nothing mind-blowing. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it's a solid superhero movie. It's a solid superhero movie. It has all the superhero movie tropes that every superhero movie has. Well, most of them. It doesn't have all of them, but most of them. It does not play up the SJW thing, by the way. I'm going to just point that out. Does not play up the SJW thing. In fact, it's barely brought up. You see snippets of her life growing up, but it's a girl growing up in the fucking 80s. If there wasn't some guy telling her she couldn't do anything, I wouldn't believe it. But like, yeah, but that's about it. It's just a couple little comments from a couple asshole guys, and that's about it. Oh, sorry, phone went off. And that's about it. Other than that, no SJW stuff at all. It's just straightforward. It's okay. So, thank you for joining me on the Comic Gamer Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.